and swiftly attain the state of Vajradhara. Okay, just let's get that. Oh. Okay, it's on now. The four limitless contemplations. May all beings have happiness and create the causes of happiness. May they all be free from suffering and creating the causes of suffering. May they find that noble happiness which can never be tainted by suffering. May they attain universal impartial compassion, free of worldly bias towards friends and enemies. Semjen damje dewatang dewe jutang den pa jutik dungal tang dungal chichu tang trawa jutik dungal mepe dewa tampatang mindrawa jutik nearing chak tang ni tang trawe tang nom chempola ni pa jutik. So today we're going to go on to the golden letters, realizing the essential profound Dharma. And this is part 6. But now we really start coming to the experiential stuff. And that's why I want you so much to focus and butt in as much as you like. That's why I like your pictures, so that I can see if you're understanding everything. I'm going to just give a little introduction so that you get into the feeling. But I really, really think, you know, when I study this and I study it again, remember, you're always going understanding, experiencing, realizing. Those are the three things. So when I'm trying to teach you, I really try to get that understanding. And it's extremely important to be for you to understand and for you to stop me when you don't understand. You know, last night I was listening to that Lama Lena, who is such a lovely Lama. And when she teaches to people all over the world. She's got about 5 translators in different languages for people. It's amazing what she's got there. And then she explained who came to her talks, and I was blown away, because she actually said there were Israelis and Palestinians in her talk. There were Ukrainians and Russians in her talk. She went right through all the people. She even, I think, have some people from certain African countries. I'm not sure, but I was blown away, because I thought, imagine when all of this is brought together, and here are all these people playing these different roles, having wars between their countries, but actually there is no war and there is no difference, because we all have awakened nature, we all have Buddha nature. So why are we fighting these wars? And I just listened to this and was just blown away by the fact that all the different races and cultures and languages were listening to her same talk. Anyway, in her talk, people really ask a lot of questions. And I think it's good, because it doesn't matter about questions, even comments, because I want to see that you actually get it. And then I can see by what you're saying to me whether you get it or not. So let's set the tone. First, with my story of the Buddha instruction. The Buddha always told his disciples, this was by Thich Nhat Hanh, not to waste their time and energy in metaphysical speculation. Whenever he was asked a metaphysical question or an intellectual question, he remained silent. Instead, he directed his disciples towards practical efforts. Questioned one day about the problem of the infinity of the world, the Buddha said, whether the world is finite or infinite, limited or unlimited, the problem of your liberation remains the same. Another time he said, suppose a man is struck by a poisoned arrow and the doctor wishes to take out the arrow immediately. Suppose the man doesn't want his arrow removed until he knows who shot it, his age, his parents, and why he shot it. What would have happened? If he were to wait until all these questions have been answered, the man might die first. Life is so short, it must not be spent in endless metaphysical or intellectual speculation that doesn't bring us any closer to the truth. However, and this is a vital statement for when you get to the top of the mountain, okay? The mountain we've been climbing for absolute incarnation after incarnation, for thousands of incarnations, because now we are going beyond Sem. Sem is the human mind that speculates and has intellect. There's nothing wrong with getting a bit of an intellectual understanding later, as long as we are able in the moment to let Rikpa happen for us. If we're busy understanding with the intellect and with Sem, we can't let Rikpa happen. And I found this just hanging around in my notes. And it was from Chang Tzu, that famous in the days when China had philosophers, you know, not like today, but anyway. In 275 BC, this is what he said. And you know how apt this was? He said, the perfect man employs his mind as a mirror. It grasps nothing, it refuses nothing, it receives, but it does not keep. And that's the Dzogchen philosophy for sure that he gave, you know, those 275 years ago. And Namkhai Norbu, who I always study a lot, I just took one quote from him. He says, since we recognize, we know that all external appearances are merely ornaments or embellishments of the real condition of existence. They're just the ornaments that come out of the essence. That's all they are. Appearance which arise to the alert sixth sense aggregates are self-liberated into their own condition whenever they arise. Now, this is so important for your daily life. He says, since we recognize that pure presence is just primal awareness as such, the manifestations of our passions and our karmic traces, our whole situation are self-liberated into their own condition whenever they arise. Now just think about the implications of what he's saying. He's saying, why are you so attached to all the things that happen to you in your life when they're just ornaments, just expressions? And if you don't intervene, does it mean you never do anything about anything? No, it doesn't mean you never do anything about anything. But you apply what you have to apply, and then in Afrikaans they say, you los it. Okay, you leave it alone. You los it after that. So sometimes you have to put the plug in, or you have to take the particular action or whatever, and then you leave it. But we never leave it. We never leave things. And so they can't just dissolve back into, we already making something else and something else and something else. So when you're going through a hard time, I mean, yesterday was a day when like 500 things happened to us yesterday. My tire got a puncture. And they don't have spare tires in these new cars anymore. You've got to have it towed. You've got to take it to get. It's crazy. Then my husband's guy had an accident on the way with his bakkie, with my husband's bakkie. Then we just learned lots of things about what we've got to do about our house. There were just all these things. And so when I came to my shrine room last night, I thought, let them be. Everything is okay if you don't intervene and you allow it to dissolve into its natural state. It's so important because Traleg Jamkon, in his beautiful book, The Circle of the Sun, which is the heart essence of Dzogchen. I just want one quote and then I'm finished quoting. Because I want to just get you into it before I read you from the golden letters again. He says, instead of the senses, eyes, ears, nose, instead of the senses obstructing the wisdom and resulting in accumulating a variety of negative thought formations, whatever is seen or heard or touched or smelt or tasted becomes illuminating, rather than leading to more delusion and increasing ignorance. Luminosity is emphasized all the time in Dzogchen practices. The ultimate reality and the illuminating aspect of wisdom are in a continuous relationship. Now, this is so important because in my practice, when I do the 100 deity practice, it says at the end, let luminosity dawn as wisdom. Let luminosity dawn as wisdom. Now, if you saw things as they really were, they would be luminous and beautiful colors. And if you saw them like that, automatically the wisdom would dawn, because you'd realize that everything in the world is actually like that, but I can't see it because my perception is blocked and hammered into my human mind, and I can't go beyond it. And that's what the golden letters are really all about. So that some of you who really find this of great interest and find it fascinating, it's everything we need for life. And it's really important that we absolutely understand this, so that whenever anything is happening, you stand back and you look again, and you look again, and you look again. And then you can see that actually this is not coarse. I've made it coarse because of my delusion. It's actually illuminated. And may illumination dawn as wisdom. May I know the truth about this illumination, about what is happening to me. It's so important that you all understand this, because when you do, your whole life doesn't matter. You've got to go and have this thing. This one's got to have this. This one's got to have that. Doesn't really matter. It's just the temporary, transient adventure of that particular life. And when last week we were looking at the view is the essence, the ground, the base, the primordial, everything is the essence, the view. Once you have the view, once you get the view, and that's what Patrul Rinpoche writes about in the Golden Letter, once you get the view, then the rest follows suit. The meditation or the path and the fruition. It all follows suit once you have the view. And what is the view? So I always like, in these prayers, I do Tulku Urgent Rinpoche's from his Dzogchen deity practice, which is such a beautiful text. He explains this beautifully. And I often ponder his words, and I want you to think about this. Bern, maybe you can make a little table of this. It's very short, but maybe you might be able to make a table, because I think it's so important. He goes, the view. What's the view? The view is the ground or the essence. The view dash primordial purity. It's pure. It's primordial. Okay. And it's represented by the Buddha Samantabhadra. That's the primordial Buddha. And what is it? It's the Dharmakaya. So when you look at that, it's so amazing. The view, which is the ground or the essence, is primordial purity. It is represented by Samantabhadra, and it is the Dharmakaya, the highest body of everything. Now, when you go to the second part, the path or the meditation, now the first one was spontaneous, was primordial purity. The path or the meditation is the spontaneous presence, which means when it purely comes out of the essence. And what is the spontaneous presence? It's represented by the 5 wisdom Buddhas. It's represented by the 5 wisdom Buddhas, and it's called the Sambhogakaya. That's the second body. Just think about this, how exquisite it is, because this is you. The view, which is primordial purity, represented by the Buddha Samantabhadra. The Buddha Samantabhadra is not a person or even a being. It's just a symbolic thing so that you can understand it. And it's the Dharmakaya. Then you get the path and the meditation, or the path and meditation, which is the spontaneous presence from the view, from the primordial purity. And it's represented by the 5 wisdom Buddhas. And it's the Sambhogakaya. Now let's go to the third aspect, as he puts it, the fruition. You can even see the fruition as action or manifestation, because it's the final one. The fruition or the action or the manifestation. Which Buddhas represent it? The Buddhas of the 6 realms of samsara. Do you know that each realm, from the hell realms to the hungry ghost, to the animal realm, to the human realm, to the jealous God realm, to the God realm, they're not real, but people think they're real. If you're living in a hell realm, you really believe it's real. And so there's a Buddha for each of those realms. They're called the Buddha of the 6 realms. And that is the Nirmanakaya, the body that manifests. Now, if you get this, you will understand so many things, because the manifestation of the Buddhas in each one is just showing you how it expresses itself for you to understand. But if you take this little column, if Byrne makes a little chart of it, you know, just those things that I've said, it really helps to understand everything in your life, because you are the Dharmakaya, the Sambhogakaya, and the Nirmanakaya. You are that. So this shows you, how does my Dharmakaya operate? How does the Sambhogakaya operate? And we're going to go into each of the details later, but I want to see that you all understand this. And the Buddha of the 6 realms, that each of these realms, you know, you do the practice. None of these realms should exist, because they're not real. They're just in our minds what we've fabricated with our delusion. So when we understand this, all the realms disappear and we're not in samsara anymore. What do you think of this? Because it really, really, really helps a lot, everybody. And you know, if you take refuge, so when you first start, you go, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. That's your external refuge, okay? Then when you go to the Vajrayana, you go, I take refuge in the Guru, I take refuge in the Yidam, I take refuge in the Dakini. Those are the expression of the pure state. And then when you go even further, what I do every single day is I take refuge in the Dharmakaya, in the Sambhogakaya, and in the Nirmanakaya. That's your ultimate refuge, because when you see that, you know that you are those 3 bodies, and that's what you're taking refuge in. So when you do the beautiful refuge that I do every day, it's very, very, very beautiful. I just want to get it completely right, okay? Because I go, Namo, in the empty essence, Dharmakaya, in the luminous nature, which we've been talking about, Sambhogakaya, in the manifold capacity, Nirmanakaya, I take refuge until enlightenment. And that incorporates everything. And even if you went, I take refuge in the Dharmakaya, in the Sambhogakaya, in the Nirmanakaya, you'd have a beautiful refuge, because that includes all of them. Everything in our lives comes from and within the three kayas, and it's liberated and purified within those three kayas. Otherwise, you're just an ordinary sentient being with an ordinary body, speech, and mind, which I'm pretty tired of. I'm tired of my ordinary body, speech, and mind. I'm sick of it, in fact. I hate the way it operates. I want to operate from the Dharmakaya, the Sambhogakaya, and the Nirmanakaya. So when I do the refuge, I like to take it like that, and then it reminds me who I really am. Speak to me if you are thinking anything. It doesn't matter how it is. Just speak to me for 1 minute. Anybody who wants to add to that, before we go into the beautiful teaching, which I'm going to do slowly, slowly, slowly. But maybe you want to say, because I've just tried to set the stage so that you are now sitting up and you are saying, hang on, I'm not this stupid little girl called Melanie. I'm not this idiot who can't do this and who can't do that. I'm actually the Dharmakaya, the Sambhogakaya, and the Nirmanakaya. I'm open to actually really understand who I am. Anyone want to say anything? Come on, I want to hear. If there's anything that you doubt about, or anything that you're not sure about, or anything that doesn't make sense, or anything that does make sense, just tell me. It's really important that I understand you get what I'm saying. Bern, you talk first. What do you feel? You wrote no.
I've been doing these 3 different refuges for a long time now, and it's just part of my practice. So it's not new.
But do you touch on it when you do it, or do you just do it by rote?
A lot of the time I do it by rote. When I do have the time, I do spend time on it.
Yeah, very important. It's really very important. And ask me or talk to me about it, any of you, because it's so important, this, if you really want to go on an enlightened pathway. I mean, you can't just say, go, Iga. Come on, unmute yourself if you want to ask, please.
I think I get what you're saying, Melanie, but I think for me, I think what is blocking me is what you said in the first place, the attachment that to what has happened to me in the past. Like I'm sick of this. Like I'm tired, and I know that I cannot move forward to even to this stage, to Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, Nirmakaya. It's a new terms for me, at least as a in Buddhism, because I'm coming from a Catholic background, which is so strong within me, and it's hard for me to actually if I could translate this in a Christian way, it's to see that you are the child of God. Like that's your true nature, the Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, Nirmakaya. But it's so hard, especially when you're living in a society that
dualistic, a society that's dualistic. I'm here and there's God. I'm here and there the beings are. Yes, it's true. And you know what? It takes a lot of time to change that, because when we stop seeing ourselves as our actually temporary, transient role that we've got. Okay, when we stop seeing ourselves like that, it's a completely different thing. Suddenly, you know, in 1 minute, you can have that awakening. And so for you, it's always, I'm here and I'm at the mercy of God. When God gives me mercy, it's good. And when he gives me good things, it's good. And when he punishes me, I know I've been a bad girl. Now you're moving, but it doesn't take overnight to move like that because of all the years and the many, many incarnations we've had believing in that. So what you have to do is, and we'll go to the practices, the practice of contemplation is where we start actually letting go, letting be, not even letting go because there's nothing to let go of, but letting be, letting the emotions be, letting all the rubbish be. We let it be and we suddenly realize that it's not us and that we can cut through it very, very easily. But, Iga, it takes a long time not because it takes a long time. You could be sitting here and get it in half a second because it's already in you. But because of the habit conditioning, it takes a long, long time until you actually get this properly. You just got to keep practicing. And that's why this contemplation in the golden letters is so important. What is contemplation? Contemplation is actually when you take the internal being, which is your essence, and the external expression, which is whatever is in your environment, including your physicality and everybody else's and all your emotions and you put them together and you suddenly realize that those things are not separate from the essence. And if they're not separate from the essence, then they must be pure. It must be me that can't see that they're pure. I can only see them on the level of my perception. And one day we wake up and they're pure. And then we realize we don't have to attach to them. We don't have to hold on to them. They will take care of themselves and come back into the beautiful essence, the Dharmakaya. When we get that, but it takes a long time. I've been doing it for years, Iga, and I often forget, okay? But then I bring myself back to practice again. Do you know what I'm saying? It's really important what you're saying. I want you all to share this with me because if you don't share your difficulties, I can't give you things that are going to help you unless you tell me. So I know with Iga, her problem is the duality, the seeing everything outside, and which most of us have got. And when that goes, you'll see how, when you hear what Patrul Rinpoche says, how easy it is to liberate all of that, then your whole life changes. Do you two want to say something? Ron and Cheryl?
Say something.
Please. Love to hear.
I don't know if this is connected, but what comes to mind when with this discussion is that, take for example a peach, and I'm taking that for example because Sharon recently gave me a peach and I was looking at this peach. And what I observed about the peach, it has a color, and then it had a shape. And then I thought, well, okay, is that it? Then when it was cut, then there was the skin, and we went inside, and then there was the flesh, and then went a little bit further because the pip got into my mouth, and then there was this pip. And what comes to mind is that the whole peach? And then what further, the actual workings are inside the pip. And this is where the golden letters or whatever they are, and this is what we've been talking about. It's there. So I'm nourishing it the whole time, but I'm getting to this point and I'm stopping and I'm running back to the outer vision of what's there. So it sounds like something is connected there. So if we could just forget about the outside appearance and then go within, and then we move within. That is where everything is taking place, and that, I think, is why it's been said that we are there all the time, but we don't know about it, and we keep running outside. But at the same time, we acknowledge whatever we're seeing. Otherwise, we wouldn't eat peaches.
Yeah, but I love what you're saying, because that's so nice that you look at the outer color, and then you look at the flesh, and then you come to the pip, and it's not even the pip, it's what's in the pip, you know, that is really our essence. But you have to open the pip. Now, most of us just spit out the pip and throw it in the pip.
But
maybe we must cut it open and see what's there.
Like all the development, sorry. Yeah, carry on.
No, when we cut ourselves open, we'll suddenly see the inside of the pip, which is what they call Tiegler nutchick, you know, the real beautiful essence of who you really are. It's such a beautiful thing, you know, so beautiful. And I have to remind myself, never mind ego, who comes from a Christian background, you know, and especially a Catholic background where they actually say, this is right, this is wrong. You know, even her mom will say to her, but you haven't done your Marys, or you haven't done this, or you haven't been to the church, or whatever the case is. You know, when you have this morning, noon, and night, you conditioned. It's so difficult to change that. Do you know what I mean? Very difficult to change it. It really, really is. But you do it slowly, and I love that example. It's a beautiful example.
I just mention one other thing. If you see a little baby, it often happens like this, and they do something which you feel is not right or whatever. So what happens is a bit of a discussion, and then the mother or the father of the little baby said, "Oh, he's only a pipsqueak." But it's onto the truth about it.
Yeah, he's only a pipsqueak, and the pipsqueak is so fresh from his real nature, you know, that he knows more. That's why little children are always pointing out the truth to you. They see the truth, they know the truth, but we can't, you know, we think we know everything with the wisdom that we have, you know. When we use this wisdom, we will know everything, but it's wonderful if you can all understand that it takes time. It really takes time. I've been doing it for years and years and years. So have you too. And, you know, it takes a little bit of time before you start going, I know. I know, you know. Oh, I get it, you know, and you stop doing the same old, same old, same old. Because after all, where do we want to be at the gate of death? I mean, do we want to be still working out all the crap that we've had in our lives, you know? I mean, we don't want to be there doing that. When the death comes, we want to soar into the essence, into the Dharmakaya. That's what we have to do. So let's go to the golden letters. We'll do meditation sooner or later, but let's go back to the three statements that strike the essential points of Garab Dorje. As I told you last time, when he got the rainbow body and was in the sky and gave the 3 points to Manjushra Mitra, his disciple, he got them in this beautiful casket. And when he read them, all the instructions in them, his attainment was the same as his master, okay, which is amazing. And all those posthumous last legacies are the same. You know, the person who gets it is with the master. But what I want to say, we're going to just read those 3 points, and then we're going to go on to the real explanation of how this operates, okay? Because these 3 points, they are not just the posthumous, you know, legacy of Garab Dorje, who was the first human master, okay? They're not just the legacy, they are everything. If you want to attain liberation, if you want to be liberated from this human body and all its circumstances at the end of your life, working with these 3 is the most wonderful, wonderful, ensuring way to get there, okay? So let's just go through them and then we'll leave them and go on to the explanation properly. So the first one is the view that we've been talking about. One is introduced directly to one's own nature. Now, we're not going into it again too much now. We'll go over it within the details of the master's expression of what they've done. But remember, when you are introduced to your own nature, that is when you begin to identify with that primordial awareness, which is called Yeshe, Yeshi. And Yeshe is, Ye is primordial and She is knowing. You are introduced to Rigpa. Rigpa is knowing. It's the intrinsic awareness. When one day you say, oh my God, I'm not Kim, I'm not Iga, I'm not Lucian, I'm not Denny, I'm the Dharmakaya. I'm everything. It's when you know with absolute certainty. That's why you need to be introduced by a master, because a master knows exactly what you need. If it's a clap over your head, as I said last week, if it's pushing you off a mountain, if it's turning you upside down, if it's lying you on the ground like Patro Rinpoche did to Noshul Kempo, and he just showed him the stars, it's just being introduced that if you stop thinking and analyzing and doing all the usual things that we do as a human being, the dawning happens. You just know things. You know everything. You wake up to that intrinsic awareness. And very often, you need a master to do that to you. You need a teacher. And when you're ready, the teacher will come, be it in your sleep state. If we haven't got it around us, be it in your sleep state, be it the beggar on the street. You don't know if the beggar on the street is Guru Rinpoche. You might just get an introduction and you must be ready and waiting for it once you've studied this, because none of you would be here if you didn't love this. You wouldn't have the merit to even listen or even vaguely understand if you hadn't done this before. You've got the merit to learn this. So therefore, you will be introduced sooner or later to your own nature. And you might need a couple of introductions. You might need it. Sometimes you get introduced. I mean, you'll still get it from a master, but you might get introduced from all the suffering you've been through in your life. You go through so much suffering and you're working it out and you're analyzing it and you want it and you need it. And suddenly you realize, oh my God, this is it. I'm going through this suffering because this is what I need to wake me up. And Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche gives it in the most beautiful, beautiful way, because he says, what is this nature that you are introduced to? He says, now listen carefully, because this is the explanation. It is empty in essence, and it's cognizant by nature, and its capacity is endowed with a core of self-existing awareness. This is the universal ground from which everything arises. Can I read that again? He says, it is empty in essence. It is cognizant in nature. I've just been telling you about that cognizance and the luminosity. And its capacity is endowed with a core of self-existing awareness. You know what you're doing here. You know what it's about. You understand it completely. This is the universal ground from which everything arises. So what's the difference? If he says everything in your essence is called space, is it just space? If I'm sitting in space, I've got this room, and this room is full of space. Is that it? No. Because ordinary space, the element space, is not it. It's when it is infused with knowing. That space in the sky is not the knowing. As soon as it gets the Rigpa, the intrinsic awareness, then it's knowing. That's your nature. And Tulku Urgent introduces it to people 1,000 times. If you really want a beautiful book to read, get his book called The Vajra Heart Revisited. The Vajra Heart Revisited. It's a very special book, and in it he's got 1 or 2 chapters on the 3 words striking the vital point on this. But he gets to it. It's unbelievable. Okay, worth getting that book, because that book, even if you can't understand it in the beginning, it's really worth having, because over time you will understand it. And then you go to the second point. One definitively decides upon this unique state. Why? Why is that such a profound instruction? What is it? Because whatever phenomena of samsara and nirvana may manifest, all of them represent the play of the creative energy or potentiality of one's own immediate intrinsic awareness. There's nothing beyond it. Whatever you see is your own intrinsic awareness, the luminosity. And if you decide on that definitively, then there's nothing more to decide on in life. Do you need to decide, I need a new house? I need new pajamas. I don't know why I thought of pajamas. I need to have a party. I need this. No. You only need to definitively, but definitively is the essence. Definitively means you definitely decide that that is all you need and that there's nothing else except that. When you decide that, you will wake up. I promise you, you will wake up. Where's Molly today, Lynn? Don't know. Okay. You will wake up. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Okay.
Well,
And then,
I'm here on Rifkin. There's no video. Yes, I'm at Martha.
I'm wondering where you are, because I'm hoping you're there, because you said,
Yeah, no, I'm here.
Okay, and then I didn't know who that was. Then the third thing is one continues directly with confidence in liberation. What does this mean? All of these, you introduce to this magnificent state, which is so different to Melanie. Melanie's just this person always struggling, helping, doing whatever else I'm trying to do with my life. But this part of me is absolutely awake and is everything that we are. Then you definitively decide on how it expresses. And the last one is you continue with confidence in liberation. How do you do that? Whatever arises, your thoughts, your feelings, situations, they, by merely recognizing their nature, they arise and they liberate, self-liberate simultaneously into the Dharmakaya, and we must continue with confidence about that. So these 3 points that Garab Dorje left, they are absolutely essential. When we know them, we're free. We can liberate everything in our lives. And if you weren't ready for this, you would not be here. You would say, something would happen and you'd say, I can't come there. So let's go through this teaching. Let's go through how they put it in the golden letters, step by step by step by step. And you challenge me. Anything that doesn't make sense, anything that feels like, but I don't understand this in terms of me, just call me, Melanie, this is what I'm going through. How does this relate? Let's relate it to you directly. You can all read this stuff up. But the important thing is to be able to apply it to your lives. So let's go slowly, slowly, slowly. I've taught you this before, but now I'm teaching it. Teeny little steps. Okay, so listen. The most important thing in the golden letters is that you differentiate between, they're not really differentiated, but in the beginning to understand, you differentiate between mind, which is the human part of the mind, sem, and the nature of mind, which is sem ni. The ni is the empty nature of it, sem ni. You learn to differentiate. Now, let me tell you how he differentiates it. In Dzogchen, there's a fundamental distinction between the nature of mind and mind or thought process. What's mind or thought process? The incessant flow of discursive thoughts which continually arise into consciousness. You know what it's like. I'm such a bad sleeper. So last night I woke up and the rain was coming in, and it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. And what's happening in my bed? All these discursive thoughts are coming up, you know, my talk today, what I've got to do with the Lama tomorrow, mustn't forget this, mustn't forget that, when all of a sudden I said to myself at 3 a.m., enough, okay? Now I'm going to make space, and I'm just going to, even if I don't sleep, I'm just going to relieve myself and watch how all these thoughts liberate themselves. And I did. I did it lying in the bed, you know, in the middle of the night. And the thing is, it really, really works. And then eventually, you know, you can go to sleep. But in his introduction, the master likens our nature of mind to a highly reflective mirror. A highly reflective mirror. Evie, just give me the mirror in there, please. A highly reflective mirror, but it's not really an ordinary mirror. Okay, it's just in that box there, Eve. No, at the back. Just there. As you look in, you'll see it. Just here in the front, Eve. In the front, yeah. Just in front of that packet, there's a mirror. Can you see? Thank you very much. Thanks a million. Okay, so he makes it a highly reflective, not an ordinary mirror, but he calls it a very reflective mirror, okay? Having the characteristics, this mirror has got the characteristics of clarity, purity, and limpidity. Limpidity means clear transparency. Clear transparency. So you can see into it very, very, very easily. Okay, so as you can see when you're looking in my mirror, everything that is in my room is reflected in this mirror. And he says, if you wouldn't use ordinary mirror, because an ordinary mirror doesn't give enough, but he says better like a crystalline holographic mirror. So this is a special mirror. If you look, you can see everything is reflected in my room in this mirror. Is it real? Or is it just a reflection in the mirror? Okay. All our thoughts, emotion, impulses, feelings, circumstances, relationships, they are all like reflections in this mirror, just reflections. If you get this, you'll go, oh, I've never worried about what the mirror reflected. And now everything in my life is just a reflection in the mirror. Intrinsic awareness, Rigpa, the state of immediate presence, is like the capacity of this mirror to reflect whatever is set before it. So the mirror doesn't say, ooh, you ugly, I'm not going to show you. The mirror doesn't say, ooh, I don't like this angry feeling, I'm not going to reflect it. The mirror reflects what is good or bad or pure or impure or beautiful or ugly. It reflects anything. And just as these reflections in no way change or modify the nature of the mirror. This mirror doesn't change. If I put a snake in front of it and it reflects the snake, it doesn't jump out of its skin to run away from the snake. It never changes, okay? So in no way do the discursive thoughts that arise in the mind change or modify the nature of mind. Now just think of what he's saying when he's giving you this introduction. He's saying, did you know that all the tantrums you had yesterday, that all the fear you had the day before, that all the rubbish, the anxiety you had another day, okay, none of it changes the nature of the mirror, your nature of mind. It doesn't, quite frankly, get tainted or looked at in any way. It just reflects it as it comes out of you. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean? When integrated into the knowledge of this intrinsic awareness, we live in the condition of the nature of the mirror. But if we don't have awareness, if we lack awareness and we remain in ignorance, we live in the condition of the reflections. We believe that everything in our life is real. We live in that condition. We don't know that there's a place within us, like Ron said about the pip, that's not affected by all of this. Okay? We live in the condition of the nature of mirror, but if we're so involved with our life and all the crap in our lives, I'm saying the crap because the nice things don't really matter, but the crap does. If we live in that condition, we're living in the condition of the reflections, thinking that whatever arises in our life before our consciousness is somehow real and substantial and tragic and terrible and awful. We think so because we think it's all real. Why is this happening to me? What is it? Meanwhile, our nature of mind is not remotely affected by that. Why wouldn't we go to that part that's not affected by that? Now, what he carries on to say, and this is the introduction from the master, these reflections originally have the nature of rainbow light. Now, this is a very interesting thing, especially for you as a photographer, Iga, because you will see through your camera's eye, many things are not like they seem to be. Whatever comes out of the essence is rainbow light. But how come we don't see it? I'm training my mind to see that rainbow light all the time. I'm training to try and see people with their rainbow light. These reflections originally having the nature of the rainbow light, but because of ignorance, ignoring the truth, and obscurations, gradually come to appear as solid and opaque, becoming the material world that surrounds us. And we become attached to these phantoms or holographic projections that represent the beginningless cycle of existence that we know as samsara. Samsara is not a real place. It's just what we've done with everything in our lives. So all of this comes about because of a lack of wisdom, a lack of yeshe, primordial knowing, a lack of knowledge, a lack of yeshe. Nevertheless, in both cases, whether there exists the pure vision of nirvana or the impure vision of samsara, it's the same nature of mind that knows these similarly. It's the same mirror that reflects all objects set before it, whether these objects reflected are beautiful like nirvana or ugly like samsara. And is there nirvana? And is there samsara? Are those beautiful rainbow lights for real? Or are they also going to dissolve after a while? Of course they're going to dissolve, because it's the nature of the essence to keep on giving these beautiful, beautiful reflections, and they're going to come back into the nature of mind. So even if you saw them as rainbow light, they would still dissolve into the light, back into the essence. I can see you pondering, Bet. It's good. David, are you pondering? Because you said you did. Nicola, Jill, come on, I can't see you what you're doing. I can see some of the others that are really trying very hard to understand all of this. Gail, Denny. It's really important, because there's no change. There's not really samsara or nirvana. Those are just the creations of our mind, but certainly easier to live in nirvana than samsara, isn't it? I mean, at least it's beautiful when you go to a pure land, but it also dissolves. Nothing is tangible. Nothing is solid. What does this do for you when you listen to this introduction? What does it do for you? What does it make you think? What does it make you feel? What do you feel about everything in your life? Lucy, come on. I want to hear what you think, because you've been doing this for quite a while. What do you think, Cooks? Let's hear from all of you.
One thing I have to just say, Mel, about letting go. I've had burst geezers and whatever, and I thought of that, and I thought, same thing, just, there's nothing I can do, and must let it go. And it made such a difference to how I cope with it.
Exactly. And even more if you use the word letting be than letting go, because letting go means there was a tangible thing and you're not holding on to it anymore. Letting be means whatever is there is there. You know, when I suddenly realize that I'm in the right place at the right time, even though I don't want to be in this place, that's just my human rubbish in my head. I mean, you know, it's ridiculous when you think of these masters who go into the Himalayas and they don't care where they are, they're just in a place. And the more they're in a place where Guru Rinpoche walked, where this great master walked, the more they are there having amazing experiences in the caves. And I wonder why I'm not in a cave. I'd like to be in a cave. Yes, Gail, please. Sorry, we can't hear you. Just put up your sound. Maybe it's your earphone. Is your sound, because I can see you switched off your muting, but we still can't hear you.
Hear me now?
Yes, now we can. Now we can't. Sorry, we did. We can't hear you. Sorry, baby. You've just got to put the sound up.
Okay, and this?
Yes, I can hear you now. Stay like it.
You don't have to be in a cave. You are the cave. You are
True.
you must listen to your own words of wisdom. You must the view that you take is what is important. So you don't have to be in a cave.
Yeah, you're quite right. 100% I agree with you. You know, I'm just keep on going back to the human part and the superhuman part. It's not even superhuman, it just knows. And why are we not using that? I cry when I see what the world is doing. You know, when I saw that thing on television between Trump and Zelensky, I thought, oh my God. I mean, there's so many lies in this. There's so many deceits in this. And I was horrified. And then later in that day, I came to Lama Lena, who said that she had Ukrainians and Russians in her group. And I thought, how come I stayed right till the end of this YouTube and heard her saying this? There had to be a reason why I heard her saying that. And what I realized was, that's all human. That's all the reflections. That's all the things that we can't see. That's all it is. People's egos thinking that it's solid and making all these plans for other people. And what do I get out of it? You know, there's no caring, which is your beautiful nature cares so much for other people and other nations and other things. It just makes you cry when you see how much it is, but it's all not real. And when we get reborn, those of us that are going to be reborn, I hope most of you are going to free yourselves and come when you need to. But when we get reborn, we will have to be able to bring this back. And when we get reborn, there won't be a war between Ukraine and Russia. There won't be a war between the Palestinians and the Israelis. There won't be these wars. They'll all be gone. And what will have happened in these wars? People will get killed, and then they'll just have to come back. They'll have to come back and sort out all their biases, all their prejudices, all their inability to see that everyone in the world has Buddha nature. Anyway, we're going to do some meditation, but I just want to say, as there's no change in the nature of mind, just as there's no change in the nature of the mirror. Thus, we say that this state is primordially pure. In Dzogchen, we speak of the primordial state or the base, and it is precisely this nature of mind existing in condition of being just as it is that's meant. It's a state beyond time, beyond conditioned existence. Don't you want to go to a state beyond? It's a state beyond the mind. It's a state beyond samsara and nirvana. If this was not the case, we wouldn't have the possibility of attaining the enlightened state of Buddhahood, says the Master, no matter how many endless kalpas we practice the Dharma. We have to practice the Dharma because we've accumulated vast stocks of merit, meritorious karma and wisdom. In the ultimate sense, we cannot become other than what we are already in essence, and we are that already. Now, when you ponder that, you have to be excited. You have to be really thrilled if you ponder it like me. You're so thrilled that you've got this nature that isn't affected when someone's nasty to you, that isn't affected by time, that isn't affected because everything isn't happening just as you are. If you stay and you get that intrinsic awareness, you'll say, oh, I'm in the right place at the right time. Oh, perfect for me. Perfect time and perfect space. So that's how it goes on. I have to finish it, but I want us to do a little meditation. And also, if anybody's got anything they want to ask or say, because he gives this explanation in the beginning. And then the book goes on to Patrul Rinpoche's comment on Garab Dorje's stuff. It's called The Wise and Glorious King. He says it's called the special teaching of the wise and glorious king. Now, what I'm going to do after we've done this whole introduction, I'm not finished, I'm going to not give you Patrul Rinpoche's comment. I'll take a few things out of it. I'm going to give you John Murden Reynolds' interpretation of Patrul Rinpoche. You know why I'm going to do that? Because Patrul Rinpoche's teaching is very profound and very superb. But it's easier to understand the translator's explanation of it than it is to understand the original. So I'm going to give you his thing because I think he does so many explanations. And if you are all happy doing it, then we just continue doing it. Is that okay? Just nod your heads if that's okay. Because I feel to myself, I can't, with this group, I can't just go on to a single session on something or another, you know, which is entertaining. And I really need to take this to an in-depth level where you all start getting it. And the only way you're going to get it is if you look at your own life and you ask and you speak and you're not shy to speak. You say whatever you need to say here, because what each of you have said is so important for all of you. So let's do a little meditation and then I'll throw it open and then we'll go on, because it's such an important thing, because he says, by discovering this one single experience of the state of immediate awareness, one discovers the entire universe. Everything that there is contained in your awakening of immediate intrinsic awareness. So what else have we got to do in life? Especially when you get to the last third of your life. What else have we got to do? I mean, must we do another thing and another thing and another this and another that? No, we can't. And yesterday, when we were having lunch with these people, and she said to me, you know, I mean, we're all at that same stage of life where we're getting old and everything, and where it's very possible that we could be left alone. One of us could be left alone. And, you know, we're talking. And then she says to me, I want to move out to where we are because I don't like to be alone. She says, and she points her finger at me. She doesn't come to any of my groups. And she says, but you don't mind being alone. Isn't that an interesting thing? Because I don't mind being alone. The only thing that troubles me are all the physical things that you have to do, which I don't usually do. But being alone is nothing. When I'm on retreat, I'm absolutely alone and solo. I will spend all my days just going inwards and looking and really doing that. I will have to have people, but I will spend my days looking inside. That's what happens when you really realize that at the end. Being alone is not a scary thing anymore. It's really a beautiful thing where you've come to the end of your major responsibilities in life. And now your responsibility is to just see that when you are completed with this life, that you are able to get to not the place, to get to the state that you need to be in. And that's why I want to ask this Lama Chandra, I want to ask her, Lama Kandro, I want to ask her about why she built this beautiful palace why her husband asked her to build this beautiful palace of the copper-colored mountain, because I think that when you build it, I think it's the same as what Akon Rinpoche said to us once when we were in TRC, and Akon Rinpoche said, I'm looking for the copper-colored mountain. So I said, why is it here? He said, it's everywhere. I've never forgotten that. He was looking in Africa for the copper-colored mountain. Why would that be? Because wherever there are beings that understand Guru Rinpoche's impact on this earth plane, there he is, because he's the primordial purity. So we need to keep our eyes open. We need to see. We need to be awake with the intrinsic awareness. That's what I realized when he said that. And you in Australia, look for the copper-colored mountain. When you're traveling somewhere, look and see when you see the copper-colored mountain, because there it will be reflected. And I want to ask Kandro, you know, why did your husband build a replica of the palace of the copper-colored mountain? Why did he build that he built it on 3 levels, the Dharmakaya, the Sambhogakaya, and the Niyamanakaya. And I want to ask her this, so when you built it, does it mean Guru Rinpoche's activities can happen there? I don't know. I'm just telling you. I don't know what made me go there, but anyway, I'm just saying you've got to really be awake now. Time. So everybody sit in your beautiful meditation posture, okay? And just start with your breathing, because next week, when we go further, we will look at how you stop the thoughts from happening, okay? Because in the Dzogchen, if you have a lot of trouble with a lot of thoughts when you're sitting and trying to meditate, then what you do is, and Bern, you could also do this for us, is you take a white letter R. Okay, you could make a white letter R, not the colored one, a white letter R. And what they do is they fixate on that white letter R to try and help you to calm the thoughts. That's only a preliminary practice, because you need to calm your thoughts, not because you need shamatha to see. You don't. You could be in a calm state or a very, very lots of movement state. But in the beginning, you just need to calm. And sometimes if you've got a white letter R, you can fixate on it, and then all the feelings start going away. Yeah, that's okay. But I think when I did it without the rainbow colors, Bern. So I think just a white letter R, so there's not too much distraction. Anyway, it's just a way of calming your mind. Okay, so what is the state of contemplation? It's not the same contemplation as when you contemplate, when you're thinking about things and you're just thinking a little deeper, and we often call that in English contemplation. It's not that. In the Dzogchen, this essential point in the state of contemplation is the state of immediate intrinsic awareness. So what we do is we want to be in that state of rikpa, immediate intrinsic awareness. And what we do, you could try with the letter R, but we'll do that also in the group in the next weeks, just to calm your mind. But once your mind is calm, and you've let all the feelings and all the emotion, and you've let everything arise, while you're in a state of contemplation, a condition inseparable from the view of emptiness, all of one's thoughts and actions continue as usual, with no deliberate calculation on your part, no attempts at creating or stopping anything, no conceptual elaborations, just allowing whatever is in your mind to come up without stopping, without touching, without meddling, without analyzing. Neither the calm state of shamatha nor the movement of thoughts of vipassana represent rikpa. The thoughts are just the power, energy, potentiality, and expression of the spontaneous energy of the mind. Rikpa, which is what we're doing the contemplation for, The state of immediate intrinsic awareness can be discovered either in a calm state of shamatha or in a state of movement. Rikpa is not the experience itself, the temporary experience, but the immediate awareness of that experience. So whatever thought is coming up, maybe you're anxious about what's coming later in the day, maybe you're anxious about something later on, maybe you're fearful, maybe you're annoyed about something, maybe you're in a turmoil, whatever it is. Experiences diverse occur in unaccountable variations, but the presence or immediate awareness is the one thing, a single thing that is discovered in all experience. This immediate presence is the one thing we must discover everywhere, so that we come to live in the nature of the mirror, not in the reflection. What you see in front of you are the reflections of all your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your experiences. And when we relax your physical body, every inch of your physical body, wherever you've got tension, just let it be. And when we relax totally, no tension in your neck, no tension in your face, no tension in your hands, feel and let them go. In your legs, in your feet, we just relax. And without doing anything, we recognize the thoughts, the feelings, the passions, the experiences as just being the creative play, tsal in Tibetan, of the mind. We don't suppress them. We don't interfere with them. We don't get distracted by them. We don't follow them. We just recognize them to be the continuous display of the inherent creative energy of primordial awareness. This is the state of contemplation. Now practice for a minute or two, just letting it all go, letting it be, not interfering, not suppressing. You don't suppress these thoughts. You let them be. Big difference, because when you suppress them, they take up energy and they're still inside you. When you let them come up and out, they are nothing, no thing, just the creative play. And you're watching them with total awareness. So what happens is your internal awareness and the external appearance of all these thoughts and feelings encounter each other and they become one, integrated. where we interfere with them, they become two, duality, subject and object. So we keep on practicing this. Eventually, you do not have to do this sitting on the cushion. You can do it in the supermarket. You can do it walking in the street. You can all the time just come to that beautiful state of contemplation. It's difficult, okay? It's difficult to do it because we're so used to intervening. Let's just dedicate, and then I'll answer any questions that anybody wants, okay? So let's dedicate to all sentient beings, to all these people who are really, really, really. Are you still the co-host, Bern, even after that? Okay. To all these beings who are going through, the hostages, the warmongers, the leaders, the people who are in the wars, who are really having a terrible, terrible, terrible time, okay? We really dedicated, if there's any merit in everything I've said, we dedicated for their awakening into immediate intrinsic awareness, even though they're going through a hard time. And through this merit, may all beings obtain omniscience. That's when you know your awakened nature. May all obscurations fall away from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, and wars. From the ocean of samsara, may all beings be free. Sonam diye tamche zipane topne nepe dranam pamshene jegana ji bala dropaye sipe sole doa do warsho. So I know lots of you are in a hurry.